today, by the way. This little 3-hour adventure we're going on is a pretty good one.
So we shouldn't reference the Wales-Iran score at all.
Correct.
Just that's if we even say anything about them.
Look at Landon Donovan.
We shouldn't reference the Wales-Iran. You got that, right?
I hear you.
So my thought is, first segment is, Thanksgiving and the football from yesterday.
What'd you just do?
Apparently we're dead air right now, but I'm trying to figure out why.
What the hell?
I don't know.
What does that mean? We're dead air.
Oh, we're good. We're good.
I don't know.
Beasley just texted me like, "Why is there nothing playing right now?" And I said, "I really have no idea." But I just pressed the button and now it's working again.
So first segment, Thanksgiving, yesterday's football, and then we should do our picks against the spread, probably at 21, and go through the games.
Rivalry games at 30.
And also NFL.
Yeah.
And so in theory, there's no starting five today. And
correct.
And there's no good, bad, and ugly.
Correct.
On tap. Today was the day when.
I was so Eve goes last night. Your work to do? I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't have any of it to do.
Well, and who knows? Maybe we'll get rid of it. Maybe we'll get rid of the starting five. I mean, I think you and I would prefer to make the 9 to 10 a best of.
My mom's pecan pie was really good. Food was excellent. We did good. My mom and I did good work, but the pies were outstanding.
I took home 3 Tupperwares of leftovers.
Good for you.
Nice.
I almost brought you a piece of pie this morning.
You did?
Almost.
Nice. Then I didn't feel like cutting. Then I didn't feel like getting knives out.
I mean, he cares about you, but only to a point. That's what that says.
That's exactly what it is. It's a great point.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Kind of.
To a point.
David, I watched that clip from WKRP 3 times. Laughed as hard. My mother was in tears. She was laughing so hard.
It's just so effing good. I swear.
God is my witness.
I swear.
I thought turkeys could fly. And my mom reminded me that when she worked, her boss, Bob Aarons, great guy, but Bob Aarons was Mr. Carlson.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And she just looked, she watched the thing, she's laughing, tears are rolling down her eyes. She looks at me, she goes, Bob Aarons. And then we laughed for another 5 minutes.
I mean, that's like 43 years old. It's so good.
It's a dark object. Oh, no parachutes opening.
Everything about it. Him on the street with his face full of bewilderment. Okay. The 3 of them in the DJ booth.
Well, I love when they're lip syncing WKRP.
K-R.
R.
And Johnny Howard Heston gives it the. Ooh, was there a side? I tell you what, my mom's stuffing was pretty damn good. Canada Relief. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big stuffing fan.
30 seconds. All right, here we go. 15 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy Friday. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. And how the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. How was your Thanksgiving there, Chef?
It was fantastic. It was really, really good. Got to see family that I've not seen in a long time. We had a great day. Got to play euchre, which is a card game kind of unique to Michigan, Ohio, and Canada, and I don't ever get to play it. My cousin and her husband play, so we played a bunch of cards, had a bunch of food, had a bunch of drinks, watched a bunch of football. Spectacular, spectacular Thanksgiving. How about yourself, David?
Well, it was very different. It was very quiet, and I was home, which was also remarkable because I can count literally since I've started my professional career in the mid-'80s, a handful of times that I have not worked or not been traveling to work on Thanksgiving. So it was glorious, Mark. I mean, I actually watched large chunks of 3 football games.
Did you get a nap in?
I did not.
Wow.
Intentionally so. All right. Trying to keep the sleep pattern, go to bed between 10 and 11, most nights, that sort of deal. A nap can throw that off. Also, full disclosure, I slept 9 hours Wednesday night to Thursday morning. 9.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I will say, Canada Relief with a question in our Twitch chat room. Was there a side dish better than the turkey?
My mom's stuffing was pretty spot on. Not going to lie.
Anybody
Not going to lie.
How about a pie? Anybody make a pie?
We had 3 desserts at the house. We had the pumpkin cake, the pecan pie, and the apple pie. And the pecan pie was, my mom can make a pie. She makes a great pie crust, which is the key to a great pie. So yeah, we had, dinner was fantastic. Dinner was absolutely fantastic.
Well, that's good. Same here. It was a little different. Obviously, there was just 3 of us. So it was quiet. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. But with Thanksgiving comes a full day of football. And 2.5 games, right?
Thanksgiving is a tradition unlike any other when it comes to football for me, because at noon, people across the country are forced to watch the Detroit Lions. And this Lions game you got to watch was an entertaining game.
Very.
My mother-in-law and my wife decided, for my mom and I guess, that they were going to root hard for the Lions. And then as my cousin showed up in the second half, all Michigan natives, and my cousin's husband looked at me and he says, wow, the Lions are holding in there, aren't they? I says, yeah, but they'll blow it. He goes, oh, I know. And you watch this happen. And you watch Detroit, I don't think snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, but snatch losing from the jaws of overtime at least. That was Detroit Lion football right there. That's the country every year gets to watch what people in Michigan watch 17 times a year. And it was entertaining, and they still let you down.
It was very entertaining. I must admit, the Lions' clock management at the end of each half was baffling. And the Bills are a very entertaining product. They are. I mean, the early 90s Bills were better, and I know the K-Gun and the offense, and it was spectacular, but in a way, this Bills team, is more entertaining because, well, they screw things up more than those early 90s teams did. And then they managed most times to pull victory out. Because, I mean, Josh Allen is a man.
He's a beast.
He is. I must admit, I'm not, this rabid Bills fan, but man, he runs too much for me. I'm so worried. For all, Lamar Jackson has faced 5 years worth of grief for the amount of times he runs. And I don't understand, why is that grief not also directed towards Josh Allen? Because if he suffers a major injury on a designed running play, how in the world are you going to justify that?
You know how you made the comment, not you, Troy Aikman made the comment about Heineke, that he plays a really nice brand of football, but he makes 2 throws that make you want to pull your hair out.
Right.
Josh Allen makes 1 run every game in which he could slide. And yet he decides that, you know what, D-back, I want some of you. And instead of it being a 14-yard gain, because it's never, and this is the thing that's baffling about it, it's never the run, David, in which he's trying to get 3rd and 8 and he's trying to get 9. It's a run in which it's 2nd and 8. He's already gained 14. And for whatever reason, he feels he needs to get between 16 and 18 instead of going down. And he gets all pissed off, and he just decides he's going to run a D-back over. And I'm with you. I'm not a Bills fan. I was rooting for the Lions in this game, and I'm going, no.
Mark, there's a part of me that thinks that Josh Allen has Josh Allen in all his fantasy leagues. I just hope he can stay healthy. That's all. I mean, obviously he's gifted and he's entertaining, and Dolph fans are like, what are you talking about? I'd love for a separated left shoulder like Justin Fields has. That would be great. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But Giants at least gave us half a game. And, hey, how many more performances in the dark does Kirk Cousins need like that for us to shed that moniker, huh?
Kirk after dark was pretty good last night, huh?
He was. I thought the kickoff return for a touchdown was the game, because the Patriots finally got their nose out in front and was going to put the pressure on the Vikings offense, and that pressure lasted for 11 seconds. So I thought that was the game. I think New England, if that's a normal kickoff return, I think the Patriots win the game. No way to know, of course, but that was just my gut feeling. Tell you what, Patriots score 26 points and don't win. That's a tough one, because they're not a high-scoring team. So they got to win all those the rest of the year. And they got Buffalo next. We'll say it'll be a good Thursday night game. I mean, keep that in the back of our minds. Bills-Patriots in New England for Thursday night football. Al can't complain about that one, can he?
And a damn good Egg Bowl, if that's your style of football to watch as well. A damn good Egg Bowl that came down to a missed 2-point conversion for Ole Miss to try to tie it and force a little extra football in that one as well. So Mike Leach gets the win in what very well could be Lane's last game as the Ole Miss head coach.
I'll tell you what, though, it better not be for this reason. I don't know why Lane said all the things that he said over the last 48 hours, if in fact he's going. because now he's now going to be one of the top 5 coaches that they pull quotes out and go, well, you can't believe anything a coach says because, well, look at Lane Kiffin and what he said. I mean, if he ends up going to Auburn or anywhere else, he got roped in because of a pair of tweets from a local TV guy who covers Mississippi State. I mean, I thought Lane was smarter than that. I mean, just what, John Sokoloff is his name or something like that? I mean, just ignore him.
I don't get, well, look, I don't get it either. I just bringing up the fact we know it still could happen. And you're absolutely right in what you say, that it would be coach speak 101 of how the attacks would come if he indeed takes the job. But it was a good football game.
Yes, very entertaining
football game.
and nearly a legendary sequence there. Mississippi State going in to put the game away, fumbled at the goal line, and then Ole Miss goes 99 and 2-point conversion away from tying it up. I mean, that would have been the stuff of legend, but State hasn't gone in Oxford and won that game all that often here in the past 15 years. Although Dan got a couple. Dan went in there and won a couple. They should think a little more highly of Dan Mullen than they do. That was a pretty good 9-year run.
Well, we all should. Dan gets, largely just thrown in for things not going well at Florida. He did really well at Mississippi State. Really well.
I mean, he had Mississippi State as the number 1 team in the country in November. I mean, say that out loud. And I will say this about Mike Leach. He went 8-4 this year. I mean, 3 of the 4 losses are to teams ranked in the top 7. I mean, I don't think you can ask for much more than that at Mississippi State, but, that's just me.
I will say with Mississippi State winning that, when Alabama tries to get into the national championship picture, what's the win they're going to hang their hat on now?
I don't know.
That was their best win.
Yeah, I could argue that. Mm-hmm. Right. And if Texas loses, they'll fall out of the top 25. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Mark, if 3 games go the right way, you could have Alabama in the playoff. I'm really wondering, because I've been doing, we have the Iron Bowl tomorrow. So, I've been working on crazy scenarios that, could maybe get Alabama in the playoff. I'm wondering if the committee's going to have to dig deep and, like, if Kansas State wins the Big 12 at 11-2, are they going to have to choose them over Alabama? Because I'm telling you, the college football world will lose their blanking mind.
I don't know if the committee has any idea how much Alabama fatigue there is across the country.
I will say this, though. They do produce ratings.
I know.
I mean, not Ohio State ratings, but they still produce ratings.
But it's because they are now in a hatred level similar to that of Ohio State. I mean, you don't produce ratings like Ohio State does without a certain element that is rooting against them every time they play and will turn the TV on to root against them. I mean, it's one thing just to hate a team. It's quite another to turn a game on and openly root for a team to lose. It's one thing to check the score the next morning and go, oh, that's great, they lost. It's another to sit there for 3.5, 4 hours and root against a team.
Make a dadgum good point. Yankees, Ohio State, Alabama, Cowboys. Yeah, there's a few of those teams. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you? Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Iran hit a post during that first segment.
And they ran so far away.
Well, then they just played a little defense.
And I ran.
He keeps singing.
I know. I mean, it's bad.
Hey, when are we doing clutch play?
When do we always do clutch play?
Did you read the text last night?
I don't put marshmallows in my sweet potatoes, Canada Relief. I don't subscribe to this sweet potato and marshmallow thing. It shouldn't be a thing anywhere.
Pretty good.
Pecans, brown sugar, flour, butter, crust over top of sweet potato casserole. That's what you need.
I love pecans.
So you got your picks?
Oh, we're doing that now. Hang on.
Adam, the forecast for Tallahassee is not much rain. So we'll see. They're not 500-1 to beat England. I hear you go, Raiders. Not enough action for a lot of people.
How come I think Notre Dame's going to beat USC?
Well, I'm playing it. Played all rivalry games, too. Big rivalry games.
Here we go, guys.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour. Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and thanks for ending your week with us, whether you're back at work or today or whether it's a 4-dayer for you. Either way, thanks for listening. Lee Sterling not joining us this Friday because he joined us on the day before Thanksgiving. Just want to recap Lee's picks for those that are interested out there. Lee, he channeled his inner Mark Miller this week. Nothing but favorites, baby. Nothing but favorites. Taking Pitt, laying the 6.5 against the Canes, laying the points with the Noles, laying the points with the Buckeyes, and laying the points with the Bucs and the Dolphins. Yeah. Sticking his chest out. And if you subscribe to Lee or you're thinking about it, he's got his college football blowout of the year special. He's 4-1 on his specials this year.
It's pretty solid. 80% on his big unit plays. I mean,
right. That'll cash, baby. That'll cash. So that's Lee Sterling, in case you missed him on our show before Thanksgiving. And of course, if you miss any part of any show, floridasportsnetwork.com and download the podcasts. Miller Moulton, as you know, we've not been good this year against the number. We haven't. We've been okay straight up. We're not very good against the number. I'm 10 below 500, and Mark, midway through the season, well, he took a month off, and he let his 8-year-old daughter make the picks. She now said, Dad, I'm tired. Do your damn job. So now Mark's back picking games, and he had a winning week last week there, Mr. Miller.
I think it's the first winning week I had on my own the whole year. My daughter had 2.
That is true. I actually think you two are tied. She's played 4 weeks, and you've played, I think, 8. But I believe you guys are tied in winning weeks.
I think you're right. I have no excuses. It's been bad. Trust me, my bookie is my best friend. Sent me a honey baked ham already.
When the bookie doesn't even wait till Christmas to send you a gift, that's when you know, man, you are.
I had to tell the wife it was a mortgage company trying to get my business from the real estate side of things.
Nice.
Why did we get this ham?
Nice. Yeah. Should have said, no, this came from Moulton.
Right.
Came from Moulton and his wife. It's just thanking me for helping them sell their house.
And why, instead of saying to Mr. Miller or to Mark, does it say to MC14? What does that mean?
I don't know, honey. Maybe they got a free one and they send it to us. Maybe they're regifting. Never had a ham regifted before. All right. By this just in, I'm going to let you know I didn't stick with 5 or 6.
Well,
or 7.
Okay, because there are so many rivalry games. Did you pick Sunday games at all, or are they all Saturday games?
It's funny. I actually did an original list, and it was 7 rivalry games that were just Friday and Saturday. Because you know how much I love this weekend.
I know. You gonna let it fly first? Go ahead.
All right. 4 college, 4 pro for the record. Mark, I'm not taking either the Apple Cup or the Civil War. I'm betting them both. I think Washington gets it done in Pullman. I mean, Mississippi State got it done in Oxford. mean, occasionally the road team wins this rivalry game, right? It's a virtual pick 'em. I mean, it's Washington -1. I think Washington's pretty good. I really do.
I agree with you.
And don't get me wrong, close 3-4 point game, but I'm going to take the Huskies to go to Pullman and win. So,
well, they still have a shot at the Big 12 title game or the Pac-12 title game if they win and Oregon loses. So, it's a big game for them.
And I think they've got a good shot to get in that game because Oregon State's going to beat Oregon, and they're getting 3.
Nice, Beaver.
Yes. So Oregon State with a chance to get to 10 wins. They haven't had 10 wins in a while. And Oregon State wants to knock Oregon out of the Pac-12 title game. They hate these guys, hence the name Civil War. Give me Oregon State in the 3. Do you know, and we didn't talk about this enough earlier in the week, South Florida and UCF are going to go on a little hiatus here. I mean, with UCF entering the Big 12 next year, this game's not on the schedule next year.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
I mean, if the Big 12 schedule gets in the way, then play in mid-September. I mean, come on, guys. Your fans want to see this game played, even UCF. Yes, you've passed them and what have you, but anyway.
Keep their numbers down every year. Who cares? Right. Keep them down.
I think they've won 4 in a row. I'm taking the 19.5, though, with the Bulls. It's in Tampa. This is it they got to try to ruin UCF. It looks as if UCF wins, they're in the AAC title game based on the rankings and how they've come out. But I think UCF wins, South Florida covers. I think Mark Notre Dame's going to win straight up, and I'm getting 5.5. So Washington, Oregon State, South Florida, Notre Dame. I'm getting points in 3 of the 4. Mark, the Tennessee Titans are at home and they're getting points. Seriously. Revenge game for the Titans because they lost to the Bengals last year in the playoffs. I think Tannehill plays great. Give me the Titans and 3 at home against the Bengals, although Chase may come back for Cincy. Mark, Fields, he may not play, and if he does, he's not going to run much with literally a separated left shoulder with ligament damage. And give me the Jets and lay the 6 at home against the Bears. I like the Eagles Sunday night, only having to cover 6.5 against the Packers. I don't know what the Packers are going to do on offense in this game. Rodgers, by the way, disclosing over the holidays, been playing with a broken right thumb. And it's a Monday nighter, but it's the Colts at home, -2.5 against the Steelers. Kenny Pickett has not been good, and Matt Ryan the last 2 weeks has. So that's my 8.
All right. I actually forgot about the Fields thing because I was ready to take Chicago in that game. And the Field shoulder backed me off of that. So I have 4 college games and 1 pro game. I'm taking the Buckeyes and laying the 7.5. I've seen it 8. I've seen it 7.5. Michigan can't throw the football, and they're going to have to win and to stay in this game. I like Ohio State. I'm going right at you, David. You keep taking USF, and I keep laughing because you keep taking them, they keep losing, and they don't cover. UCF wants to keep their ranking. This game still matters. I think they blow their doors off. Give me UCF, lay the 19.5. Clemson, same thing. They're going to blow South Carolina out.
Ooh, look at you.
They're going to win by 30.
And if that happens, do you think then that they can play their way into the playoff?
I think it's possible, and that's why I think they're going to play hard.
What's the spread, by the way?
14.5.
Ooh, look at you going to the face of the hook.
And North Carolina laid an egg last week. They'll be back for NC State. That offense will get going at 6.5. NC State has trouble scoring. They won't be able to keep up. Give me the Tar Heels laying 6.5 against the Wolfpack. And I'm taking Tampa Bay against Cleveland and laying the 3.5.
Look at that. 5 favorites. Good to see you come out of Thanksgiving dinner and all those carbs and the coma nap and all that, and you're still the same guy.
I like favorites. I don't know what do you want me to say? I look for favorites that I like.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. By the way, good for you playing the Ohio State-Michigan game. Good for you. I agree with you. If Michigan gets down 2 scores, they got problems. Okay, but what if they stay within a score?
What if they do? And what if the finesse blocking team can't handle Michigan's power running game? One of those games, David, I know it's silly, but I wouldn't defer if I were Michigan.
Ooh, okay.
I'd want to run it right down their throat. I'd want to establish the type of game this is going to be and remind Ohio State that they're in a brawl. They're not in a little game against Purdue, that they're here to play man's football, and we're going to hit you in the mouth for 60 minutes. Because that's the way Michigan has to win the football game to me.
You mean how they won it last year?
They're still punching them in the mouth last year.
Channel their inner Biaka Batuka. Is that what you're saying, Mark? Miller and Moulton. The NFL slate's an interesting one next.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Probably France, Canada relief with the first games. France or England. Although Grandpa picked Belgium, you don't ever mess with Grandpa's picks. I still don't know how we tied Wales.
My friend who's from Venezuela and thinks the United States sucks, like the soccer team, says that we're going to lose 4-0 today. Sounds pretty.
Sounds reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Got more food. What'd you go with this time?
What do you mean?
What'd you go with? You got something there.
Turkey.
Is that even a question?
What are you thinking?
I'm even more disgusted with our tie against Wales because Iran is taking the game to Wales right now.
Still scoreless?
Yeah. That's what I like. I don't care. God, I like when they just shoot from 30 yards. Shoot more. I'm like the fan of the hockey game that knows nothing. Shoot the puck.
I like it too, but it's stupid. Hell, the easiest goal to create is one off the rebound.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you catch any of that Ghana-Portugal game yesterday?
Yeah. Really good.
It was a really good game.
Especially since there hasn't been any goals in this game because they've just been playing.
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing for the 0-0 ties almost.
Canada relieves. Zach Wilson's getting benched for more than that. Have you seen him play?
Yeah, because you can be a D-bag. You just got to be able to play.
I mean, they picked him second overall in the draft. Do you know what a bad look this is for the GM and the head coach having to do this? They're saying, by the way, if UCF wins, they're in the title game. That based on what the consensus rankings are this week, and if they were to win,
Well,
they're
yeah,
saying-
Tulane or Cincinnati is going to fall out of the rankings with the loss. I mean, isn't that what it would be? There would be a rematch with the only of these two teams playing this week that would stop them, right?
well, and they win.
Oh,
and
it's Houston too. Yeah, I'm sorry.
If Houston loses to Tulsa, they're definitely in because they win the head-to-head against both Tulane and Cincy.
Ten seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, 17 minutes until we're done. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Mark, a full slate of NFL games post-Thanksgiving. Isn't this the time in which clearly we separate pretender from contender? And from now on, you just pick the contenders to win, even when they're playing the pretenders?
And we don't have many games with two contenders or pretenders in them. They happened yesterday for the most part.
Right. 2 games involving winning teams facing each other yesterday, and we only have one such game this entire weekend. And that's the Cincinnati-Tennessee game. That's why I said it's an interesting slate. I mean, we got some numbers this week. I mean, the Chiefs, to think the Dolphins are a 14-point favorite and they're not the biggest number on the board.
What are the Chiefs, 15.5?
Yeah. Against the defending Super Bowl champions. Has a defending Super Bowl champion ever been a 15.5-point underdog before? I mean, that's remarkable in and of itself. I almost played it. Their third string quarterback starting for the Rams. I mean, third string. I'm just wondering if the Chiefs realize it and just kind of throw their helmets out on the field and don't really play with a whole lot of vinegar. I mean, it's not really going to look like the Rams. No Stafford, no Cup. They just cut their leading rusher. I mean, tough to take them seriously, right?
It's really tough to take them seriously. But even with that being said, Mahomes and crew can score 30 without having to take it all that seriously.
Right. So that's one of the games. Any concern at all about the Dolphins? The last time they were this big a favorite, they were hosting Houston 20 years ago, and they lost. Any concern at all?
Actually, no.
Okay.
No, because the spread's 14.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be surprised if Houston gets to 14.
Okay.
Even against the Miami defense, which I think is good. It's average. It's not great. But this is the NFL after all. I mean, seriously, if I told you that Houston scored 13 points, would you be that surprised?
I wouldn't. They did make a change at quarterback. They're going with what? Trevor Siemian instead of Davis Mills.
Think
Houston
about how
right now-
bad Trevor Siemian must be because he couldn't crack that lineup until this time of the season.
Well, come on now. They wanted to make sure that Mills wasn't the answer. I mean, that's what this whole season is about. They're tanking for whoever. The Bama quarterback, the Ohio State quarterback, the USC quarterback. I mean, sorry, I'm not buying anybody else as a potential first overall pick. But so they're on the clock. They're terrible. The Dolphins are on a roll. They've won 4 in a row. They're coming off their bye. My hope is that they're invested. Like we're worried that the Chiefs may not be properly invested. I just want the Dolphins to, this is the beginning of the stretch run, boys. All right. You're going to win Sunday, but go out there, whack them, beat them badly, get Tua off the field for the fourth quarter, and then get ready for that 3-game road trip. Come on now, boys. Be a contender, if you know what I mean. Play like one.
And I think the other, you could say that same thing about Tampa Bay, David. They're better than the Cleveland Browns, but it's a road game. And just go get it done. Continue to get this tight end that Brady seems to like a little bit, a few more touches. Continue to get Godwin back in the lineup as he's starting to come into form. At least I thought so. Thought the week off was a perfect time for him. And continue to play good defense.
You know who I think is really important in this game, though? He's listed as questionable. Vita Vea. I mean, let's be honest. The Browns lately have not run it as often and run it as effectively with Chubb and company as they need to. And I'm just throwing this out there, Mark. Just like I'm really high on Tannehill this week to have a really good game. I mean, they could lose to the Bengals, and they're an underdog at home to Cincinnati. But I think Tannehill, who was tormented by his playoff performance, so much so he admitted he sought therapy during the offseason. I think now with Cincinnati coming back that he's going to play really well. This is Jacoby Brissett's last start, He turns the keys to the car. He has got to give them to Deshaun after this. He has no idea when he's going to start a game again. I mean, he has a multi-year contract with Cleveland. If Deshaun Watson stays healthy, this could be Jacoby Brissett's last start till like 2025. I think Jacoby's going to be very motivated this week. This is it for him. He goes back to hat wearing and clipboard carrying. Just saying. Wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland plays really well.
And I want to see Tampa's defense continue what it did. Just shut the run game down. See if they can have the run game themselves. They're coming off their best performance running the football all year long. Can they have that twice in a row?
I will say, big matchup there, Donovan Smith and Wirfs against Myles Garrett. Big matchup. I do think that Tampa can make some hay throwing the ball if they can block you-know-who. That's a big if. The game within the game. Wirfs, by the way, is grading out as damn near the best tackle in the league. I mean, Pro Football Focus and the analytics world and what have you, they're totally in love with Wirfs. 4th tackle taken in that draft, by the way. Could turn out to be the best.
And there's one sneaky game on the NFL slate.
I think I know where you're going.
Atlanta at Washington.
There you go.
And from Tampa's standpoint, it's an important game to pay attention to.
Sure.
For the NFC playoff picture, now with the Giants losing yesterday, it's big for Washington. And sometimes we just look at names of teams and say, well, that doesn't matter. And this is an easy game to go Falcons and Commanders and go, this doesn't matter. But in an NFC that no one's really taken hold of, and certainly the middle of the NFC, no one's really tried to claim those last playoff spots, this game has some meaning to it.
Washington 6-5. They were 1-4. Do the math. They've won 5 of 6. If they win this game at home, their next 3 weeks are the Giants, a week off, and the Giants. Anybody see the Giants yesterday? You see how depleted they are? They're down to their 4th, 5th, and 6th corners. There's no one on the defensive line that's making any hay. Taylor Heineke and company can't wait to face the Giants twice in 14 days with a week off in between. And as you mentioned, Mark, if you're Atlanta, hey, man, you get this one. You're 6-6, and you're going, we might just be able to take this to the final game of the season where winner of Tampa at Atlanta wins the South.
And thinking of your Atlanta, you're going, we got screwed the last time we played Tampa. That bad call is the difference of us winning that game and losing that game. They're not that much better than us. In fact, they're not better than us.
I'm curious if Atlanta, because put it this way, never thought we'd say this. Taylor Heineke versus Marcus Mariota. Edge? Right. Come on, say it. Say it. Say it.
Who am I supposed to give the edge to?
Heineke. 3rd and 6 on your own 28. You need a first down, and you got to complete a pass. Who you want throwing it? Heineke or Mariota?
Ryan Tannehill.
That's funny.
No, you're right. It's Heineke.
Also, no Pitts for the rest of the year for the Falcons.
I
now,
know.
Granted, I mean,
They weren't really using it much in the first half of the year anyhow.
Right. I mean, they did ignore him for 6 weeks. Apparently, they thought he'd be a hell of a decoy and a blocking threat. Which is funny because everybody else was thinking exactly the opposite. And I'm not just talking.
Thought he was going to be Travis Kelce.
Yeah. And he probably will be one day when he gets used properly. Anyway, hey, listen, I don't want to say it's a crazy week, but Denver's favored on the road. So think about how bad the team they must be playing is. Oh, yeah, it's the Carolina Panthers. They're just a 1-point favorite. Carolina playing Sam Darnold. Yeah. We played P.J. Walker and Baker Mayfield. And, let's try Sam Darnold. Sam's like, am I still on this team? Wow. Okay, I'll play. Hey, they had last week off, and they're not going to the playoffs, and we don't take them seriously. Jacksonville's only a 4-point dog to the Ravens.
Yes.
At home.
At home.
Lamar Jackson, in his last 5 games, has only thrown 4 touchdown passes. I'm not blaming all of it on Lamar. That's not the best wide receiving core. But without the tight end lately, who's been hurt, that passing game has really been controlled. I mean, they needed 2 turnovers in the 4th quarter last week to get to 13 against Cleveland. I mean, Mark, The Ravens are in first in that division. You and I are high on Baltimore, but they're not playing well offensively right now.
No, they're not. You mentioned the tight end will play this week. Andrews is back, but he's been banged up, so I don't know how effective he's going to be. They've got nothing in the receiving game for Lamar, but they play great defense. And will that be enough against Jacksonville, who has shown at times that Trevor Lawrence the last couple of games has played better?
Yes, he has. This could be the upset special of the week, by the way. I'm just saying. I didn't have the guts to take it. You did last week. You took the Lions against the Giants. I'm just saying, this, if I had to pick an upset special, I would pick this one. Chargers with a must-win in Arizona. They're now 500. Arizona's a mess. They got to get this one despite other injuries at wide receiver and elsewhere.
I don't know if it's necessarily a must-win, but I think it's a big, big game. If Seattle's going to be a playoff team, you damn well better beat the Raiders this week.
Especially coming off your bye. You had a long stretch there. Your last game before the bye, you look like a team that needed the bye. Okay, you got the bye. Your record says you're 6-4. Are you really? Or are you the Giants in different uniforms? And I think this game, Mark, shows it.
I didn't have the guts. I think Seattle's going to win this game. I didn't have the guts to lay the points. I really didn't. It's over a field goal that they're favored by. And I couldn't do it because I think that they're more like the Giants than they are a good team.
Do the Niners goat rodeo the Saints, or the short week and the travel and what have you that they just get by the Saints? San Francisco hosting New Orleans, and the Niners look good. And the Saints have Andy Dalton.
Niners win. I wonder if they can cover. That's getting in that 8.5 range, David, that teams just aren't covering when they're favored by that many. I mean, there was part of me that says, do you just take all the points in these big games and you take the Saints and you take the Rams and you take the Texans and just say, all right, this is the NFL. No one's going to get blown out.
Bengals at Titans, the only matchup of winning teams. I'm taking the Fighting Tannehills.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati will win this football game. I think they started getting something going on, and I think they're going to really give Baltimore problems between now and the end of the season for that division.
Bengals, one of the 5 highest scoring teams. Titans, the only team in the league not allowing teams to score more than 20 points a game in their last 7 games.
Would love to see that game get up into points and see if Ryan Tannehill can match Joe Burrow. Like you talk, even if they don't win, play a good game and match Burrow.
Yeah, the Titans don't want to see that, but I know what you're saying. I'm all over the Jets. I laid the points. I think the Fields injury and Chicago's offense will be kept in check because of it.
Yeah, that's everything for them. They've been scoring 30 points a game, but that's because he can run for over 100 a game. And if he's not running around out there, that takes everything away for the Bears.
And finally, put a fork in the Packers. They're in Philly. I took the Eagles and laid the points.
Yeah. Stick a fork in Green Bay. They're done.
Miller and Moulton. And we're done.
There's a run through all of the NFL games. We made our picks against the number as well this hour.
So I got an upset special. I'm going Jacksonville. You got one?
There's nothing that jumps off the page at me right now.
Not going to go Vegas, huh?
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka, The Seaside will be serving clutch vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I am curious why the Bucs line keeps going up. I find that interesting. I don't quite trust them yet. I want to desperately. And I do think this is a big game. They win it. I think they take care of the Saints at home the following week. That's 4 in a row. Hell, they might put the division away by then. I have Canada relief. I have. I'm like Mark, though. Hasn't been enough scoring for me. Hope that changes. Do we have a result yet?
No, we're in extra time.
Scoreless.
Wales is down a man. Iran is working their ass off trying to get a goal. Oh, he scored! Iran scores in the 98th minute.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at that. Good morning, Roy.
Morning, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And
How was
you
your
as
Thanksgiving?
well.
Happy day after Thanksgiving. Had a good weekend or a good holiday. How about you?
Absolutely. Great one.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
By the way, very quickly,
Yeah.
because Iran is going to win. All right, when we lose to
It's
England,
even more that we tied Wales.
But it also means that we're going to have to beat Iran.
Yeah.
Can't tie them.
Right. No, you're right.
If that had finished a 0-0 tie, Iran would only have a point. And in theory, if we don't get beat 6-2 today, we'd have goal differential on them. Now we got to beat them if we lose today.
We'll probably still have goal differential on them, though, because they did get whooped by England.
No, I know, but in theory, if we lose today, they're at 3, we're at 1. We got to beat them.
Oh, yeah, we got to beat them.
Holding out hope, guys, for a 1980 Lake Placid miracle. There's been a few upsets already, so
you're right.
Happen.
Including this, I think.
Right.
All right. We close?
Yeah, 15 seconds.
All right.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this day after Thanksgiving. We hope you had a great holiday, and whether you're back at work or whether it's a 4-dayer for you. Thanks for being with us here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Because of the holiday, we've moved a bunch of guests around Tuesday, Wednesday, today. One of those that's been moved around, different day, different time, Roy Cummings. Bay News 9, pewterpirates.com. You can follow Roy on Twitter, rcummingsfhcn, rcummingsfhcn. Roy, hope you and yours had a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us.
Had a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for having me again, as always, guys.
Well, this is the time when teams start separating, Roy. This is, to us, a big weekend for the Bucs. It's a Cleveland team that they're supposed to beat, but it's the NFL. You can't take anything for granted. And if Tampa Bay is going to win this division, it all starts on Sunday.
Yeah, it really does. A lot of people, but way back in the day, made a lot of fun of Lovie Smith when he talked about the importance of November football. I think they all thought that, well, of course, the games in, September, October matter too. But no, November is right. You're right. This is when teams start to separate themselves. And you're starting to see a little separation happen. And part of the reason that this is always big is this is when teams start to find out what their depth is really like. How far can they go when they're testing their second and third offensive lineman, second or third wide receiver, fourth and fifth, defensive back. So, it's big. And obviously, look, the Bucs in the situation they're in, tenuous all season long, continues to be. The good news is for the last game and 48 seconds, they've played some pretty good football. So maybe they're starting to figure some things out. Coming off a bye week, you got to think that they did figure some things out, maybe came up with a game plan offensively as to how they want to attack teams successfully, because that formula is out there. It's really just a matter of sticking to it, if you ask me.
2 years ago, they went into their bye week late in the season, 7-5. We all know what happened coming out of the bye. So now here they are, not quite as late, but late. They go into their bye at 5-5. Good news, they were playing a little better, but they needed the bye. They were banged up. When you look now personnel-wise, where do you think the Bucs are in terms of who's healthy, who's ready to go? Like Vita Vea, he needs to play Sunday.
Yeah, he does. But overall, the injury report looks pretty good. Tom Brady and Julio Jones got rest yesterday. I don't know why they need rest after a bye week, but they got rest yesterday, so that's fine. They didn't participate, but most everybody else is there. And that's important, especially on the offensive side. Look, defensively, Vita Vea has kind of been up and down this year. It hasn't really given them, what I think they're hoping for him. There's times when he's absolutely shined, but then there's times when he's kind of been a little absent. But they do need him. They just, again, I'll go back to 2-3 weeks ago. They need Levante David and Devin White to play much better. And I think if they do, the secondary starts to get better. The pass rush looks better. The blitz works. So defensively, they can get by with Vita Vea being, again, kind of inconsistent. They do need him on the field, though, because that's important. They just haven't really – that Ndamukong Suh spot just hasn't quite been filled yet, and they're hurting a little bit there.
Well, and it's obvious this week with Cleveland is going to try to run the football. I mean, this will be pretty easy to find out where the linebackers are at and how, if Vita Vea's healthy and if he's playing, because we know what the method for Cleveland to win this game is, and it seems like it's a pretty – I don't know about simple is the right word, but it's a simple way to stop, in that if you're going to pack the box up and force Jacoby Brissett to throw the football, then you've done your job, and Tampa's going to need those linebackers to play well.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing for the defense coming off the bye, is like there's not a whole lot of guessing here. Exactly. I mean, look, stop the run is always the first priority for a defense, no matter what your scheme is. Even in a blitz-heavy scheme like the Bucs run, you want to force those teams into long third down opportunities, and then you unleash the pass rushers. So we'll see how it goes. But again, I think in terms of game plan, this is a chance to play downhill, and that's where these guys should excel. And again, if they can, it'll just be another little notch move forward for them, because I think the offense has kind of figured things out on that side. So again, really, to me, this game is kind of up to the defense. If they can play downhill, attack, I think they're going to be in really good shape.
He's Roy Cummings, pewterpirates.com, Bay News 9. Follow him on Twitter, rcummingsfhcn, rcummingsfhcn. So you just said you think the offense has figured things out. So you're comfortable with the interior of that offensive line going forward, because now we're past the trading deadline. It seems as if there are very few people out there who could be picked up the way Sue and Joseph were picked up by the Eagles. So, we were waiting for a move. It's not happened. Are you comfortable center guard?
Comfortable, no. I still think that's a weak area, and everything that you look at statistically, look at tape, shows that that's a weak area. But again, Tom Brady is as good as anybody at adjusting to that. He gets rid of the ball quickly as it is. They've had a lot fewer 5 and 7 step drops. They're not going deep as much, but the offense can still work as long as they run the ball. I mean, we saw it one point last week where you saw the offense saying, "Come on, keep running it." Let them get into a rhythm, and you want to do that early. A lot of times you want to get your quarterback into a rhythm early, and so you throw early, or you want to get your receivers into a rhythm early, and so you throw it early. I think with the Bucs right now, it's the other way around. You've got to establish that running game and then work off of that with the play-action passes. And they don't have to be play-action passes that are 17 to 30 yards deep. You can run play-action passes that are just 5 yards deep and get yards after the catch, especially with Julio Jones and Chris Godwin. Those guys can pick it up and run, and they've looked like they're capable of that again now over the last week. So again, talk about the bye week being helpful. I won't be surprised at all if we see a different Julio Jones and a different Chris Godwin. We got flashes of that the last time out for these guys, and I think that continues going forward.
And do you think we get a little more Lenny with Rachaad White having the game that he had? I mean, it puts a little pressure on Fournette to keep up, or put up or shut up type thing. I think you're going to see both running backs here be used and called upon, and I think it's important to, like you said, establish running game. I don't care which running back it is, Roy, but I think a little pressure on Lenny to get his game up to par was needed, and it was put on him last game by the way Rachaad White played.
Yeah, I totally agree. Look, the thing that I liked about the way the Bucs ran the ball 2 weeks ago now is the fact that they did use all the bodies, and you get a little bit different of a look from Rachaad White than you do Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette's just going to bow his head and just plow through you, whereas Rachaad White's a bit more of a slasher. And then you throw Keyshawn Vaughn in there, that's a bit of a change up as well. So I think the idea going forward is going to be to spare Leonard Fournette a little bit. Don't forget, you plan to play deep into January here. So I think the idea for me would be to start splitting those carries a little bit, 25, 20, 25 per player. If you can do it, it's unlikely this team's going to run the ball 50 times, but still, if you can win a game that way, man, go for it. Because again, I just think the more they show Rachaad White, the better Leonard Fournette becomes.
For the people you've talked to in the organization, what's your gut feeling about Brady playing beyond this year?
Yeah, I think right now the organization is feeling as if this is probably it. Everything that took place last year in the offseason, I think they feel as though they dodged a bit of a bullet here. They were planning on him being here, and then all of a sudden he was gone, and then he came back. I think the feeling is that it's really up in the air. I think they would like to have him back, but this time around, he may ask for a contract they can't afford with their cap situation. Again, this will have to see how it goes. There's a feeling inside the organization that this is it, and there's a feeling inside the organization that maybe this should be it. This was good. It was fun. We want to keep doing it, but how much more do we want Tom Brady actually running the organization? There's times when that doesn't work out as well. For the most part, it's worked out just fine. But I think there's a feeling of at some point we've got to move forward. The only issue is they're not really ready at the quarterback position. The problem is I don't think they can sign him to a 1-year contract. I think it's going to be a 3 or 4 year deal that he's going to want if he's going to go somewhere. And that's going to be a pretty hefty salary this time around, I think. And so we'll see. But I think the feeling is it may be time to move on.
Boy, you just said that out loud. It may be time to move on from Tom Brady.
New England did it.
No. Tom moved on from them. Okay.
Yeah, not necessarily a parting of the ways there, a mutual parting of the ways. But
He's
no,
right.
Again, if they were more established behind him, you'd be more sure of it. But the problem, I think, again, is going to be the contract. I can't see Tom saying, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll play, on 1-year contracts for the, until I'm 52." I don't see that happening. I think he's going to want a big contract. I think he's going to want 3 or 4 years. He's going to want some kind of stability because who knows? With the situation at home, he's freer now to obviously go play football if that's what he wants to do, and I think that's what he wants to do. But we also know that there's a part of him that kind of wants to get into management and wants to get into maybe something else. He's got a job waiting for him at Fox. And sometimes, you get away from the person that keeps bugging you all the time about giving up on this. And maybe you see it in a different perspective and say, maybe she was right. Maybe it's, because let's face it, this has been a challenging year for him. And maybe that's part of it too. Maybe he doesn't want to finish on this challenging year. I think if they win the Super Bowl, he's probably going to say, okay, that's it. I don't see them winning the Super Bowl. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. Much like last season, guys, last offseason, it's really a coin flip. It's hard to know which direction he's going to go.
He's Roy Cummings, Bay News 9, pewterpirates.com. We talk Bucs with him every week. You can follow Roy on Twitter, rcummingsfhcn, rcummingsfhcn. Roy, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me as always.
Roy Cummings, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton.
3 or 4 year contract. I almost fell out of my chair when he said that.
Well, it won't be fully guaranteed. So you could sign him to a 4-year contract. He may only play 1 year, but you pay him for 2 on the cap. But I will say, without Giselle, in theory, the discounts could be over. In all seriousness. I mean, he could look around and go, no, you got to pay me market value now. I mean, he could.
He could. And you would have to. I disagree completely with Roy. If whatever he asks for, you want to play another year, Tom? Yes, I'm going to sell all of my tickets. I'm going to sell all of my suites. Everybody's happy. This is a move that is a no-brainer for me. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater. they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Life is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Life is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Iran added a late grunter, 2-0.
Well, and that could be big.
Oh, Alexa, you going to cry when we get beat 6-1 today?
Iron Bowl, Mongo, and Monday Night Football's in Indianapolis. I leave late this afternoon. How about we do a little World Cup here and then the pod?
Sure.
Felipe's ready, right?
Yep.
What is it?
Ronaldo becoming the first player in history
There you go.
to win 5 different World Cups.
Oh,
I like that. That's good.
my mother-in-law had a new affection for soccer when she saw Ronaldo for the first time.
Oh my
yesterday.
God. My mom too.
She's like, he is really good looking. I said, yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
Matter of fact, he is.
My mom was like, he's perfect. I'm like, shut up, dude.
Some guys are so good looking, the husband just has to sit there and go, mm-hmm.
Yeah. With Ronaldo, I look at, yes, he is.
Yeah,
Yes, you are. He is very good looking.
Yes.
Did you know that recently he became the first human to have 500 million followers on Instagram?
I guess you make money off of that?
Oh, yeah. A lot of it.
Okay.
lot of it.
Oh, good for him. He hasn't made enough playing soccer.
Right.
Although I will say he has been heavily taxed. Oh, well, if it's the word on the web. It was very, it was very borderline. Rick, you make a dadgum good point.
Really do, Rick.
I guess it's possible a possum somewhere.
Asshole.
How many followers does the God Twitter handle have? He's following who? Bieber?
Justin Bieber.
Right.
6.2 million following one person, Justin Bieber. God, that's funny.
Wait, who?
God has a Twitter handle.
It's God, and in parentheses it says, not a parody, comma, actually God, at the tweet of God.
That's funny.
If Elon Musk, God's Twitter account, if Elon Musk kills Twitter, you will never hear from me again, and my son will communicate with you only on breakfast foods.
I want to know who this person is. Yeah, Klecko, in his own mind, yes, it is. I don't know, KW. You should go read some of the tweets from God. Pretty funny. Mark, is it fair to say that God's a little snarky?
Very snarky.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Jeff Cameron's coming up next segment. Florida State tonight in Tallahassee. Maybe some rain. Maybe. It's pouring in Pensacola. Apparently most of it's in a little more than 15 minutes. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour. Glenn Davis, a little U.S.-England World Cup preview in an hour. And we'll wrap up the syndicated part of the show with Chris Landry and rivalry weekend in college football.
You know, you were all over me for being upset with the U.S. men's national team's disgusting performance against Wales.
Well, you weren't just upset. I mean, you were, A, really upset. And B, I mean, that match took place early to mid-afternoon. You carried it with you not just for the rest of the day. You carried it with you 18 plus hours later after you slept.
And it's been brought right back to the forefront because Iran just got done beating Wales 2-0.
What? Wait a minute. What?
Do you know how badly we could lose today? This could be like a 6-0 game against England. They could beat us by a touchdown.
I will say, though, Mark, if you do the math, I hate to say this because they think this is going to be the most watched soccer match in the history of U.S. television. But today's result now doesn't matter.
Not really.
Unless the U.S. wins. If the U.S. wins, then they're a point ahead of Iran, and then we don't need to beat Iran in the final match of group. We just need to get a draw against them to advance. But outside of a straight up win against England, Mark, you could argue this result doesn't matter. They have to beat Iran next match to advance.
Absolutely. And they could still win their group if they won the next two matches. They would have 7 points and would end up winning the group. So there are positives obviously coming, but does anybody really think they're going to beat England today?
No. And here's why. We played a really good first half. Even you, I am so down and angry and bitterly disappointed with the U.S. men's national team, Miller, Okay.
It's actually why I'm angry, because of how well they played, how composed they look, how good they look for 45 minutes, and then just fell apart. They look like the Detroit Lions at the end of a half or the end of a game.
If that team plays 90 minutes against England, I see what you did there, by the way. Well done. If that team, the first 45 against Wales, plays 90, although, of course, now, Mark, what do you have to play? About 100 minutes?
Yeah. These games are long.
I mean, stoppage time is like a sports talk segment.
At least a lengthy one. It's our bottom of the hour one every time, David.
Right. It's this. I mean, stoppage time is this segment we're doing now. It's 10 minutes. It's unbelievable. But listen, for what little we know about soccer comparatively, the U.S. men's national team's first half performance against Wales, they managed to produce that for 90-plus minutes against England. What do you think the final result is? 2-1 England?
Probably. I mean, they could maybe muster up a tie if they played that well.
Okay. We did tie England last time we met them in the World Cup. I will say our goal was kind of it was misplayed by the English goalie, to be honest with you. We played really well, but the goal that we scored in a 1-1 tie was pretty squirrely.
So,
but if we lose to England, and even if we get goat rodeoed, like the way they did Iran 6-2, if we beat Iran, we get out of group.
Yep. That's all that's going to matter.
Because the only way we could not get out of group is for Wales to beat England, and then it would come down to goal differential between us and Wales. And the odds of Wales beating England are not good, even if England rests a bunch of people in their final match. Because England's going to want to win, and although I believe if England wins today, they actually have already won group.
That you're right.
That is the danger for the U.S. The English will have nothing to play for, really, going forward. But I digress. But U.S. loses today 3-0. We beat Iran, we advance.
No doubt. But confidence will be shot because, as you mentioned, this is going to be the most watched soccer match in this country ever.
But what Iran beating Wales did, if that thing had finished in a scoreless tie and Iran scored 2 goals in the final 2 minutes of stoppage time?
Yes.
If that thing had finished 0-0, then the U.S., in theory, could have advanced with a draw against Iran. Now they're clearly going to have to win one of their last 2 matches.
And we'll see if this young team can pull that off. Because now they're playing with pressure.
At some point in this group, the U.S. men's national team is going to have to be clutch.
There is no doubt. Felipe, it's time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. What do you got for us?
Well, one of the 5 greatest soccer players in history, Cristiano Ronaldo, became the first player in history to score a goal in 5 different World Cups, and he did it yesterday on this penalty kick in the 65th minute.
Va a dar la orden, ahí está Cristiano, le va a pegar Cristiano. De Portugal, lo hizo Cristiano Ronaldo. Otro récord más para CR7. Lo gana Portugal.
People think they're,
ESPN Deportes.
Right.
But I will say that was a glorious, long-winded, he really held the air and the diaphragm goal call there.
It was. Double R roll there coming off of it as well. Cristiano.
Well done.
That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. Purchase it at Total Wine and check out the Clutch Vodka Dolphins tailgate party for those of you in the 239 at the Seaside Bar and Grill every Sunday for the Clutch Vodka Dolphin watch parties with the great Bloody Mary specials and great specials on Clutch Vodka. Hashtag your Clutch Vodka drinks with hashtag Clutch Spirits and visit them online at clutchspirits.com. sportsnetwork.com.
And, he had other areas he could have gone. The kickoff return for a touchdown in the Vikings-Patriots game there. The stop of the 2-point conversion for Mississippi State to beat Ole Miss. The Seton Hall banking in the 3 buzzer beater to win in college hoops. I mean, there were some plays of the day yesterday. The Bills, Lions kick. I liked it. I was wondering why he was giving away so much of the story. And then, boom.
Segment. So
this Black Friday morning,
we had a blackout Friday morning there.
There you go,
David. That's never happened before. I looked up and everything was gone.
I was going to say, I looked up and I'm like, wait, they fired me? What? Just because I like the play of the day?
We will start getting into rivalry week on the other side. The Noles and the Gators play tonight, a Friday night tilt, and we'll talk that game with Jeff Cameron. He's next on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mhm. Mhm.
30 seconds.
You have Jeff on the line?
Calling him right now.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan will join us at the top of the hour. Just one segment today with Pat. Glenn Davis to join us in a little more than 40 minutes time to talk the U.S. men's national team and their match with England. And Chris Landry to join us 1 hour from now to talk rivalry weekend here on Miller and Moulton. Hoping to catch up with Jeff Cameron to talk Gators and Knowles. They play tonight, a Friday nighter. Don't know how many people like it, but a Friday nighter. Mark, this could be like Auburn, Alabama from 12 years ago when CBS arranged a Friday home and home after Thanksgiving. The ratings were great. The games were great. Both sides said, yeah, you do it again, we'll kill you.
I think that's what it is. I think it's a one and done because Florida is so against this. And you need two to tango, and Florida wants nothing to do with this Friday night game. Although, the Egg Bowl got washed out because I'm guessing a lot more people were watching Vikings and Patriots. But these standalone games on Rivalry Week have always done really well. We talked about the UCF games. UCF game a couple of years ago, they stuck this on a Friday. It turned out to be a great game and did a really good number. So I would imagine Florida State is going to do well ratings-wise tonight. Now, will the game deliver? That's the question. And that's all on the Florida Gators right now.
Well, and they're shorthanded. I mean, not only are they underdogs, but they're down 5 wide receivers total, including their top 2. I mean, basically, if you're a healthy wide receiver, you're playing in this game for the Gators, and you haven't done much for them all year. And the Noles' defensive strength is stopping the run. So for Florida to win, their strength's going to have to beat Florida State's strength. Either that, or they're going to have to throw the ball and do it with a bunch of unheralded guys who will write, a chapter in Noles Gators lore if they're able to pull this off.
And if Florida pulls this off, it would be devastating to me, to the Noles, because they would do it beating Florida State at what Florida State's best at defensively.
Jeff Cameron's kind enough to join us now. He, warchant.com, 93.3, Real Talk in Tallahassee, The Jeff Cameron Show. Follow him on Twitter, the letter J Cameron Show, J Cameron Show. Jeff, it's David and Mark. Hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy Thanksgiving, fellas.
Well, my co-host just said, if the Noles don't win this game, this will be about as bitter a loss as they've had in the last 7-8 seasons. Agree?
Well, given the circumstances, I think it would probably, be a tough one to swallow. When you get the news that many players are out for Florida and the way that the two teams have played coming into the game, it would be hard to imagine that Florida State would handle a loss like that very well. On the other hand, it's a weird deal because all year long before the season started, every Florida State fan that I talked to or that called into my show or any of the prognostications were that, hey, Florida State's got to have a winning season. Florida State, if they could get to 7 or 8 wins, it'd be a great year. Well, here they sit with 8 wins, and yet you guys are right. You don't win this game, there'll be a lot of people who think, yeah, it was a good season, but it's just a weird position to be in. But at the same time, I do think this team has shown a lot of maturity throughout the course of the year to kind of take care of business. So I'd be surprised if they don't play well.
Well, and to oversimplify it, Jeff, the one thing that I've liked about this Florida State team is that if they win this game, they're going to win it playing tough. They're going to be physical, and they're not just going to beat Florida. They're going to kind of punch them in the mouth doing so because that's their style.
Yeah, they've done a 180, haven't they? I mean, they were a soft team each of the last 3 or 4 years. They weren't a team that could win the line of scrimmage. They weren't a team that were going to line up and let you know from the get-go that they were going to run the ball, but now that's exactly what they do. And they've taken a lot of team souls early in games, just rushing for massive numbers of yards early, 180 yards in the first quarter, something strange like that. I mean, you've seen it, and that you have to be physical to do that. I mean, they basically – now, look, Miami's not a good team, but they bludgeoned that team just running counter over and over and over again. So that has been their MO. You're right. They are tough, and they've been very physical on the defensive line, especially since Fabian Lovett came back, and they've been able to stop the run. And Florida wants to run with that dive so that they can play off of that and let Anthony Richardson have that run-pass option. But if Florida can't run and they're missing receivers, it's hard to imagine the path to victory for Florida here.
Jeff, I might have this stat wrong, but if they rush for 200 yards today, they will have done so in, 7 consecutive games. And the last time Florida State did that was 1987, which, of course, is a magical year in Noles lore because that was the beginning of the dynasty.
This is something of a throwback team.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so where David was going is right. It would be 7 straight games, and I know the 1987 season that he's referencing is indeed a magical year for Florida State history. So I would say this: it's funny if you go and look at the Memphis teams that Mike Norvell coached. That was a team that ran the ball, and they also. And you look at the running backs he had and the guys that he's put in the NFL there. He kind of said from the jump that he thought that this was what he was going to establish here. That it's he'll tell people it's an offense made for playmakers. We throw the ball, but we throw the ball, quote unquote, off the run. And I don't know that coming into this season, I think we can reiterate it. I don't think we thought coming into this season that Florida State would make the kind of leap that would allow them to run for over 200 yards in 7 consecutive games. You just didn't see it anywhere on the offensive line last year. And yet you've seen now the emergence of that group and a back like Trey Benson as well.
Jeff, does this game being on Friday do anything to hurt? How much does it hurt recruiting? If there's any complaint that I've heard from people on the game being Fridays, is it's a tough day to try to get the recruiting thing, or is that something that we really shouldn't pay as much attention to?
Well, I think it's frustrating. I know that. I don't know if it will hurt them in recruiting. I'll just say that. It may not be a banner day in terms of the amount of recruits that are attending because it's on a Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, but I think that a lot of the recruiting class, with the way things are bumped up in the modern era of recruiting, a lot of those kids have made their decision. I think it's more important, for example, to get off to a really good start to the season. And Florida State started 4-0. A lot of times, it seems like recruits, when they get into their season, have already kind of forgotten about what's going on in the middle part of the season. So you got to start well. And Florida State began the year with a win over LSU. And I know that was important to them because there were a lot of people at that game. I don't know that it'll hurt them. It certainly isn't ideal, and a lot of people have complained about it for that reason. But if they win that game, at that point, again, you're talking about having won 5 straight. You're 9-3. You swept your state rivals. You got a lot to pitch there, even if they weren't able to make it to the game.
Jeff Cameron, 93.3 Real Talk in Tallahassee. Also, Nolecast, or warchant.com, excuse me. Follow Jeff on Twitter, the letter J Cameron Show, J Cameron Show. Is this the game that officially brings the swagger back to Florida State if they win it?
Well, I think college football, David, is at a weird place where each season is kind of unto itself because of the transfer portal and the one-time transfer rule and all the other things. You don't know from year to year, are you building towards this momentous thing where this year leads to year 2, year 3, year 4, and everybody feels the rise of a program. Florida State's made do in the transfer portal to salvage last season and to get to this place. I mean, if you look at their best players, they're all transfer portal guys. So I think swagger is built over winning as a group 2 and 3 years at a time. I think that's beginning to change because of the portal. Now, I also think that this is founded in something that is real. It's a mantra. It's a methodology that Coach Norvell and his staff use and that they preach to these players. So of the ones they've recruited and the ones who stuck around for the regime change, I think it is the bedrock of it is something you can build on, and they will be probably playing with a lot of confidence next year. But they don't know, David. They don't know who of the 6 or 7 key kids that have really made up the gist of this turnaround are coming back. They got, these days you have to talk about things like NIL roster retention money and and the ability to go out, obviously, and bring in new talent. So you have acquisition and retention. It's almost like an NFL regime where you don't know which free agents are staying or going from year to year.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the NFL, Jeff, because this is obviously a rivalry game. This to us, this weekend's everything. To a bunch of old guys that have done this for a while, it doesn't matter whether it's the Apple Cup, the Civil War, Florida State. We love all of it.
Right.
To the players, I mean, is it as big of a deal to the Noles as it was 10 years ago to play the Gators, if you know what I mean, because of NIL, because of transfer portal, because of all the other outside noise? Are the rivalries still as big inside the room?
Well, I think this is fascinating. I don't know just yet how to answer that. I think it matters to a lot of kids, obviously, because they grow up in the state, a lot of them, and they either played with or against these kids that are going to be on the other sideline today. But I would say this, Mike Norvell, unlike the last several coaches at Florida State, You got to go back to Bowden, who would talk openly about it in the same way that Spurrier, you would talk openly about it. But Mike Norvell refuses to treat the Miami game or the Florida game as just another game. So much so that he will say this game means more. He's admitted it means more to beat Miami than it does Syracuse or Georgia Tech. He knows it means more to beat Florida than it does to beat any of the other schools that you line up against in a given year. He'll talk about it. Now, he won't reference the school by name. He doesn't say Florida or Miami, which cracks me up when we do the interviews, but he will say, this game means more. We know it means more. It means more to recruits. It means more to our alumni. It means more to these players. So I like that he hasn't dodged the fact that certain historical matchups take precedent over some game you're playing against whomever in the ACC.
Can we just, and we've got a couple minutes left, Jeff, can we go hypothetical here that if we were fast forward 2 to 4 years, would Florida State be playing this game potentially to sneak into the playoff? Because you could see a scenario. If Georgia beats LSU, Florida State wins this game. They're both 9-3. Well, Florida State beat them. So Florida State would be ahead of LSU in the pecking order to sneak in and grab maybe the last playoff spot. In 2 to 4 years, a situation like this, Florida State may still be alive.
Oh, without question. I actually think if you poll Florida State fans right now, they're a little frustrated having let the NC State game get away up 17-3 in the second half. If they win that game, they're looking over at LSU going, come on now. Florida State beat LSU, everybody. What are we talking about here? And they've pulverized. You know, guys, if Florida State wins today, and let's say they win by a sizable margin. Let's just say they cover more than 10 points or something like that. At that point, Florida State will have won 7 times this year of their 9 wins will be what I call rocking chair games. They will have won going away in 7 of their 9 games. They've been emphatic victors in the games that they've won. They've had a couple close ones. That Louisville one on the road was very close, but in the LSU game, the aforementioned LSU game, everything else, when they've won, they've beaten the bejesus out of teams. And so I do think that there's a sense that Florida State, at least amongst Florida State fans, are slightly underrated. They've lost to only ranked teams, and they've lost narrowly in all 3 of those games. So, yes, there's no question Florida State would be in a position if this were 2 to 4 years ahead of time right now. They'd be fighting to get into the playoff. In fact, an expanded playoff, Florida State feels like they're going to be fixtures again in the very near future because they're getting this roster back up, at least the basis of it, to where they can be competitive every week. And then, of course, if you hit on these transfer portal kids, as they've done, you got a chance to have a magical year.
Is it going to rain? Because it's pouring in Pensacola. Is it coming your way or no?
Well, I'm standing on my front porch right now, David, and it is sprinkling. I will tell you that, much to my chagrin, because I got to do a pregame show up on a rooftop.
All right, stay dry. Enjoy the day. Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Jeff Cameron, he's terrific. He's terrific. Or chant.com, 93.3 Real Talk in Tallahassee. Does some Sirius XM work as well. The letter J Cameron Show. J Cameron Show is how you follow him on Twitter. Jeff Cameron joining us again on Miller and Moulton.
I like that rocking chair game. Of course, it made me think of the Charlotte airport with all the rocking chairs that are lined up there.
That's right.
No place in the world where there are that many rocking chairs.
I think they should put cushions on those chairs. Those chairs are all wooden. Now, don't get me wrong. Most of us walking through an airport have enough cushion, okay, if you know what I mean, that they don't need cushions. And maybe that's what they were thinking.
You ever sat in one?
Yes, absolutely.
Still think it needs a cushion?
Well, no, I'm fat. I mean, I take care of it myself.
Miller and Moulton. 2 guys that don't need a cushion. Thanks for listening on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Felipe, did you get the note about Pat?
Yeah, I got his number. I'll call him.
Thank you.
I sent him the link anyhow, just because it's habit.
Kind of relief. I'm hoping not to have a major purchase for a while. Probably going to, in 23, probably buy a new laptop and an iPad. You okay, Logic Man? Just remnants of something? Kind of relief. I'm not a New Year's resolution guy.
I'm going to lose weight and get in shape.
Yeah, like 200 million Americans, 199 million of which won't follow through. Huh? May need to get tested just for the heck of it. Don't know what it'll do, but may protect others. You know what, Mello? No one cares. And that's the really sad thing. Like, they drew 1,000 people at those games. This athletic department as a whole right now has a major malaise problem. No one cares anymore. They're like,
and haven't for 3 years.
But it's not just men's basketball. You know, this isn't all Michael Fly. I mean, the women's basketball team's been ranked for 2+ years now. Their attendance is going down.
They don't advertise.
Right. There's no marketing involved. You know, the baseball team's been good these last couple of years. Okay. Attendance is going down, which we didn't think was possible.
What are they, 4-1, 5-1, something like that?
They're 5-2.
5-2.
But they won that tournament.
Right.
Yeah, but Trenton, the fact of the matter is that, you know, yeah, exactly. They
There
were
you
in
go.
a tournament.
At
There you
Hertz
go.
Arena. There, yeah.
Right. It hurts her 3 days in a row. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Final hour of Miller and Moulton, at least in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice, halfway home for those in the 239. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Glenn Davis in 20 minutes already had a World Cup result, which was a bit surprising. Iran beating Wales 2-0. The U.S. taking on England in 6 hours' time.
And it doesn't really matter.
Right. That's the sad thing.
It doesn't really matter. Now the U.S. needs to beat Iran. That's really all that this comes down to as far as the group goes. It would be nice to see them upset England. It would be nice to see them get a result. But right now, all they need is to win in their match against Iran to move out of their group.
Pat Kirwan to talk football of another kind. He joins us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West. Many points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Pat, how was Thanksgiving football in your eyes?
Great for me. You know, we got the Detroit game, and Detroit delivered an exciting 60 minutes, if you will. I was a little frustrated when they got the ball back with 2 minutes. I thought they were going for the tie. I wish they were going for the win. But they were letting the clock spin out of control there. And then when they got that 20 seconds put back on the clock, it actually haunted them, and that's the reason they lost. But I thought, you know, I'm a fan of Campbell, and I love the way he's building the football team. They're going to be fine another year or two. So,
does he have some clock management issues, Pat? I mean, he's made mistakes this year managing the clock. Does he have to fix that?
Yeah, he needs to hire an old, retired guy that ran a football team and put him in the booth and listen to him, which I know Dan now well enough to know he would listen. That's going to be their first off-season maneuver, I think, to go get a guy. And then they got to assess where the defense is. Although, I'd say the last 2 weeks, the defense is starting to make progress. Certainly not enough to be a great football team or anything, but they're doing okay. And I think Hutchinson is going to be a terrific player, and he's got a couple of tough kids in the secondary. But the clock management, you just solve that by getting an older, retired guy, doesn't want to be a head coach, got a long history of managing the clock, and you'll be fine.
I could see somebody like John Fox maybe, okay, leaving his role in Indianapolis and joining Dan in Detroit. How important was the Vikings win last night because of all the doubts can Kirk in prime time. And, listen, they put up 33 points. Granted, they got a special teams touchdown, but they moved the ball 400 yards against Belichick and his defense. How important was last night for the Vikings?
Tremendously important because of the beating they took the week before. And bad teams stay bad, and good teams rebound from that. We've talked a lot about teams that get shut out. They were virtually shut out, right? 40-3. Good teams bounce back from that. A lot of them win, and I thought there was a good bounce back for Minnesota. The problem for them will be, there's no bounce back in the playoffs. You can't have the Dallas kind of game and expect to go very far. But they did bounce back, got a lot of weapons, and they are more encouraged to get the ball in the hands of that running back of theirs. I never understood why they don't do it all the time, but they don't. I think they were ranked, I don't know, you got in front of you, David, maybe 20th in the run game. You got Dalvin Cook and you're ranked 20th in running. Something's wrong.
Mark, Patriots, by the way, tough one to score that many points and have over 400 yards of offense and come away with a loss in the AFC. That's a tough one, and they got Buffalo next.
It certainly is. And the other side of it is the Giants, they fought hard yesterday, but they lose, and now things are going to get really difficult for the New York Giants, Pat.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope for them, just like the Jets. They can't control their own destiny, basically. And I think David has been hinting at this all year. Even when they were on a good roll, he was waiting for this to happen, I think. And probably both of us should have been waiting for it to happen as well, Mark. But, yeah, the Jets and the Giants, we may look back and say, hey, heck of a year. You won 8 games, and no one thought that was going to happen. But the expectations were raised so high when they were rolling that we all thought, they're a lock here, but it's not going to look like that.
Pat, you mentioned the Jets. They play the Bears. We could talk about both quarterback situations. If you're the Bears, how do you play Fields? He's in theory your franchise. Yeah, right. I mean, he comes out and says, I have a separated shoulder and ligament damage. I mean, there's a part of me that says if you play him, you should be fired.
Yeah. There'll be other voices in that one. Management, ownership will probably have something to say about jeopardizing the long-term future with him. And it's okay to take a week off and let someone else play. You're going up against their backup quarterback, so I would not play him at this point, because we all know the only way Chicago can win is for him to run around like a maniac. And all that does is jeopardize him. Again, he asked one question: can he fully protect himself? Not just the shoulder, but the hamstring. The answer is no. He can't fully protect himself, and he's not a pocket passer, and you're asking for more injury. I don't know, David. It didn't take you long the day after Thanksgiving to suggest a firing if they do it. I love
no, but you know what I mean. That sometimes as an organization, you've got to think big picture and not week to week. That's all I was getting at.
That's why you have a general manager. That's why you have an owner, and that owner will get involved. They've whispered things before about wanting guys on the field, so I think they'll make sure that he's not out there. I would be disappointed, to say the least, if that guy plays.
David's been making a lot of Tannehill against Cincinnati in the performance he had last year. I know it's big from the standpoint that he played poorly. I just don't know. Do you think that plays any part in this? I know Tannehill, he had to go have therapy and was all worried about his play performance. Do you think that's part of it, or is this just a matter of give the ball to the big fella and let's win it the way we always win it?
Well, they'd love to be able to do that, Mark, and just use that formula of theirs. But I think they realize that Tannehill's going to have to make a couple of plays. And he will make them. He's a solid guy. He's not just an all-star or anything else, but he's still going to get the 3rd and 8 a couple of times in his game. And he's going to have to convert a couple of them. It's that simple, and I think he will. He's a professional athlete, and he's done good things in the past. Is it haunting? I'll tell you what haunts me. I'm talking to their defensive guys. How do you sack the other quarterback 9 times and lose? They looked that up. I don't think it's really happened many times in the history of the National Football League. We can only find one, and it was a loss as well. So unless you guys find one for me, something that almost never happened before happened in the game. Sack a quarterback 9 times and lose.
4 turnovers, bigger factor than 9 sacks, as it turns out. Hey, are we going to give Lamar and the passing game a pass because they've been doing it without Mark Andrews, who they, I think, get back Sunday? Or do we have to start questioning what we've been questioning for 3 years now about the Ravens? Can they throw the ball well enough to win in January?
It's funny you bring that up. We had all of a sudden got a wave of Raven callers the other day. And what happened during those calls was they all really had the same theme. This is why we all fall in love with our team, but we all know we're not going to win in the postseason. We know we're going to be one and done, and it's because what they're seeing is the same offense they always see. One that can't, move the ball consistently with the passing attack. And they look at the quarterback and go, love the guy, going to win a lot of games in the regular season, but they all feel like the postseason is going to come to a quick end.
How about your buddy Pete this week? This one to me is a big deal for Seattle. That you can't be a playoff team and lose to the Raiders. I think their season's on the line Sunday, Pat.
Yeah, he has a lot of respect for every team he plays, and he teaches his team to think that way. So they will not take these guys lightly. I can confirm that. And they see them in preseason a lot. So they know who Carr is. They know how talented he is in their minds. But Pete's team is just starting to come together pretty nicely. He's got a lot of ways to beat you now. We talk about Geno on this show quite a bit. Geno gets you now. And he's got 2 receivers that are impossible to cover. And all you got to do is put double team on Crosby and take all the time you need to throw the ball. And I like Geno because he doesn't run around. He can run, but he doesn't run around. So I think what we're finding out is how much our friend Russell wanted to ad-lib everything. And right now they think that they got an offense that when they call something, it's going to be executed.
Mark, if you want to play the schedule game with Seattle, if they can win this and get to 7-4, they got the Rams and Panthers the next 2 weeks. You really circle this game. This could be the springboard right into the playoffs. Pat, we've got a minute. How concerned are you with the Bucs in Cleveland? Last start for Brissett.
I am concerned because 3 weeks ago, I talk to Todd Bowles all the time. They got their run defense back in shape. Remember, it was a fantastic run defense in September. We all thought it was terrific. Then the Kansas City game kind of beat them up, and a lot of people followed suit. But they're back. And as long as they can keep Chubb down, Chubb was held down last week. In fact, if you go look at Chubb's games, go look at how many times he doesn't have 100 yards rushing. And I think the record of the team is 0-5. So it's pretty much a focus of just go get Chubb done and make Brissett beat you, and then they can't do it.
He's Pat Kirwan. NFL Radio's moving the chains. Weekday afternoons 3 to 7, Saturdays 2 to 5, while the games are being played. And he joins us twice a week, courtesy of Pinchers, from Tampa to Key West, and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, hope you had a great holiday. Safe travels. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Look forward to it.
Pat Kirwan, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton.
Well, it's an interesting little schedule quirk you bring up for Seattle. If they can get this, could be 3 in a row, and they can still continue to put pressure on San Francisco and force them to keep winning games.
And at the very, Mark, 9 might be good enough in the NFC. The Giants are reeling. And they've got the head-to-head against the Giants. They win Raiders, the next 2, Rams, Panthers. That's 9. I don't know how much more work they got to do.
Miller and Moulton. We will switch from football to football with Glenn Davis as USA has a big match with England. Maybe. Kinda. Really hyped. It's supposed to be a big deal, but the fact of the matter is now they just have to beat Iran. Miller and Moulton. Glenn Davis to talk some soccer next on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best clean, crisp, smooth as vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Is this going as well as I think it is?
Yeah, it is.
Canada Relief. This is year 2 for Wilson. They have to decide at the end of next season whether or not they're going to pick up his 5th-year option. The first 4 years, the money is not awful. It's like $4 to $6 million a year. You know, cap hit round 6. So, you know, if he ends up being on the roster for the next 2.5 years and he's a highly paid backup, it's really not the end of the world.
Make sure he's on when the segment starts because it's a short segment.
Can I go backwards before going forwards with him? Just about the upsets.
Yeah,
and just say, you know.
Well, I'm going backwards to the Wales game. I want to find out if he was as disgusted as I was.
Okay. Well, how about let me go backwards to
Saudi Arabia,
Argentina, and then what was the other one? Japan, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can take it and say, well, I want to go back to Wales. And then we can go forward with the U.S. against England. Yeah, DC, that's what it'll come down to. Yeah, but Adam, do you believe that winning is a quarterback stat? I mean, Daniel Jones has won more games than Aaron Rodgers this year. I mean, and Daniel Jones and the Giants beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Apparently, it was the final play of the Giants game in London where Rodgers broke his thumb. And I don't know if you remembered it. He kind of scrambled. He was trying to buy time, and he was trying to throw a Hail Mary, and he got destroyed throwing the ball. Apparently, that's when he broke his thumb.
Glenn's on hold.
Awesome.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Chris Landry to get into the big rivalry games. After all, it is rivalry weekend this weekend in college football. Glenn Davis, kind enough to join us once again. Former professional soccer player. He called 6 World Cups for ESPN and Fox. He's host of Soccer Matters on ESPN Radio in both Houston and Austin, Texas. You can follow Glenn on Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Davis Soc. That's SOC. Glenn Davis SOC. Glenn, it's David and Mark once again. Hope you and yours had a great Thanksgiving. How are you?
Fantastic Thanksgiving. A lot to be thankful for. David, Mark, thanks as always for having me on. Looking forward to what we know is a big day today in the World Cup.
Well, Glenn, we are thankful for you. Can I just go back before we go forward? I mean, obviously, much of your adult life has been based around soccer. The upsets of Saudi Arabia over Argentina and Japan over Germany. It's one thing for a couple of yahoos like us to talk about them. What did it mean to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think every World Cup we see these shocks and these surprises and sort of unknown matches occur. The Saudi Arabia one, I think, out of the two is the more surprising, simply because the way it was done. And by the way, Argentina had 3 goals called back in the first half for offside. One of them I don't think was. That was Messi. That would have made it 2-0. And, I'm not sure they come back from that. But this is the beauty of sport. I think this is why we watch it. Anything can happen at any time. What that meant for the country of Saudi Arabia, Japan, again, that's a game Germany should put away in the first half. But it just goes to show you that if you don't put teams away during your best times in soccer matches, things can change. And listen, to the credit of Japan, their tactics changed. That one's less surprising to me than the Argentina result. But in the second half, the tactics flipped, and their coach puts on 2 guys who score goals off the bench, so everything comes out smelling like roses. Now you got Germany who's got to play Spain, and Spain beats them. Germany's World Cup is again for a second consecutive time done without getting the group, which is hard to believe from that German soccer culture that's won a World Cup 4 times.
Well, I want to go back to the Wales game because I was disgusted with the second half play. As you just said, talked about Germany should have put them away in the first half, as well as the U.S. played in the first half. I thought they should have put away Wales in the first half. The second half performance, explain to me what went wrong.
Yeah, I think now that we saw the result today between Iran and Wales, with Iran winning, I think we're all wishing we could have that second half back. But you can't look backwards. You got to look forwards. I think the expected occurred. Wales had to come out and play a little bit, being down 1-0 in that game. They brought on the big center forward. They got the game a little bit more chaotic. They started pressing the U.S. For me, I think the biggest thing I take away from that is the maturity of handling a 1-0 lead. And I just kept waiting. Look, I understood they were going to be under pressure and they would have to defend and play a bit without the ball, but I just was waiting for that period where the U.S. would grab more control of the game through some good possession, get advanced into Wales's end of the field, be able to hold the ball, and that never really came.
Glenn, this may show my naivete or my lack of expertise of the sport, although I follow it as closely as I think I can. But, the U.S. didn't used to complain a lot, and we never flopped. And I have to admit, in the second half, not only were they not playing well, I just didn't like the way they carried themselves. I mean, I felt we stopped being us. Is that a just asinine comment?
Yeah, I think there's a fair assessment to that. I think that's a fair thing to say because we did see the game change so dramatically after a dominant first half. But I think we also have to factor in Wales was allowing us to get into their half of the field in the first half. So this was a different game. Wales all of a sudden got higher up the field. But I'm 100% with you. I expect, and I think we all expect now more. People can say, well, they're young and all that. Yeah, but they're all playing in big places, and we're setting the bar higher now as the U.S. There's no more excuses. These guys are playing on Juventus and Wales, and you could see the one thing I loved about these guys after the game, they were extremely disappointed, not happy by not getting the result.
What can they expect today? Because obviously they're moving up in class. England was dominant against Iran. They are the better team. I mean, we know that going in. So this is going to be a game where we won't be having possession. We won't be able to take the game to them. Probably more of a counter-attacking type game, isn't it?
I think that's a fair thing to say to a degree. To what degree, I don't know. And I think that's the big question. Look, when you're playing against Saka, Sterling, Mount, Kane, rising stars like Bellingham, I mean, yeah, this is a big game, but I don't think the U.S. is in fear. I think they got a number of guys who compete in the Premier League, obviously, Adams and Aronson with Leeds and Robinson and Ream with Fulham, Pulisic at Chelsea. So there is some familiarity there. I don't think the U.S. will be in fear in this game. I do think, to your point, they're going to have to play well without the ball today, which is a big part of soccer. On the other hand, I think they're going to have to be pretty clinical when it comes to, recognizing moments to attack and go at England and get in maybe behind their outside backs and pull center backs around Harry Maguire and Stones. And I think they're going to have to be pretty clinical in that and not only in executing, but actually recognizing it first and to get Pulisic the ball in really good areas. Bigger question to me is who's going to start as a center forward. Do you start a Jesus Ferreira, who maybe is a little bit more about movement and mobility, comes back to the ball in midfield to maybe tease those center backs out and move them? Or, do you continue with Josh Sargent, who also plays in England, who's a little bit more of a traditional number 9? So that's a big one to see who starts center forward for me for Greg Berhalter.
Couple minutes left, Glenn. Combo question. Do you like so far either A, all the stoppage time in both halves, and B, the officiating?
Yeah, there has been lengthy stoppage time. I guess I'm okay with that. That means they're really trying to make this more about the actual soccer being played, right? The time that it's being played. So I'm okay with that. I've seen some games I've liked refereed better than others. I honestly don't think that was a penalty yesterday. That was given for Cristiano Ronaldo in Portugal in the Ghana game, and was pretty stunned to not see that go to VAR. I thought it was a soft penalty and it was a defining moment, but I'm not complaining about any of the referees right now. I mean, I don't think anybody's won or lost anybody a game. That was a big call, though, yesterday in that game.
Glenn, in the final minute, what is it you're looking forward to? 2:00 today, U.S. against England.
Yeah, prideful performance. I think we'll see that. A confident performance. A growing U.S. national team. I again think a lot is going to come down to how good the engine room of this team plays, and that's, Tyler Adams, who I just think is such a wonderful young player, so composed for his age, leader. Yunus Musa, Weston McKennie, guys like McKennie and Dest, how long can they go? How quickly have they recovered after, such a physical game against Wales? But I do think the middle of the field, if they can really set a tone, they can compete, go head-to-head with England. I think he can have a good day. I mean, I really think that's the part of the U.S. team that has to work every game is their midfield. And maybe the reason we saw Wales maybe take a little bit more control is because that midfield didn't make the decisions in the second half it needed to make. They got to make them today against England.
He's Glenn Davis, former professional player, called 6 World Cups for ESPN and Fox, host of Soccer Matters on ESPN Radio in Houston and Austin. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Davis SOC. Glenn Davis SOC. Glenn, thanks for getting up early and agreeing to do this week. We really appreciate it.
Anytime. Let's go to United States today. It's our turn.
Absolutely. Thanks, Glenn.
Glenn Davis, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Like clockwork. Look at that. Morning, Chris.
Good morning.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Football, and I did eat too much. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I did it. Gosh, I felt bloated.
Why would you say something like that?
Because I try to say I'm uncomfortable and I don't feel good after I eat when I'm bloated, so I'm not going to do it, and I did it. So I'm bloated.
I'll do that to you.
That's just I ate before the game, before the Bills Lions game took place, and I did had a little taste for something after the game last night, which is bad because he too late to both the college and NFL game, and I just had just a little bit, but I didn't eat so much the first time, and only one helping. How was y'all Thanksgiving?
Fantastic.
Good.
Yeah.
It's nice to be home.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. You're normally not home, huh?
No.
Yeah. Usually with
What did you say? Was your fourth
since '86. It's my fourth Thanksgiving where I wasn't either working or traveling to work since '86.
I've never, of course, watching games and all it's considered working. I've never Thanksgiving because my whole life has been in coaching.
Right.
I mean, and so Thanksgiving and certainly all my time in the NFL, Christmas was always work because it was either practice or, we played a couple of games on Thanksgiving, but mostly it's practice. You get, you get your practice done a little bit earlier that day, but it's always been a work for me. I love it,
Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, Florida, Tulane, Cincy, Apple Cup, Civil War, Notre Dame, USC, stuff like that. Anything else? Anything else you're really interested in?
No, in terms of games, no. That is, that's it. Just, we'll be back next week. Just TCU, just think they'll beat Iowa State, but that's it may be a little bit closer than people might think because they're always close with TCU. And the defense is really good at Iowa State. It won't score enough points, but that's Kansas State, Kansas. Yeah, so wherever y'all want to go, that's. I was thinking in 3 years, I'm not a television network guy, but you guys are, if in 3 years they don't make double headers in college football on Thanksgiving, Texas A&M, followed by the Egg Bowl, somebody needs to be slapped and
1 minute.
flogged. You know what I mean? Because that should be really good, because if somebody watches multiple games at one time, the NFL does it right. It does it good. I love those games. College football needs to have a day game.
Yep.
At least one on Thanksgiving. And Texas A&M has been there forever. That used to be that you couldn't have Thanksgiving without Texas A&M when I was growing up.
I will say quickly, the Cowboys Thanksgiving game most years is the highest rated regular season game of the year.
Yeah.
And that it's tough. It's like if I'm programming college football, it's tough to go up against the Cowboys.
Particularly Texas and Texas A&M.
Right.
That would be really something. Yeah.
So
here we go.
If I do that game, I may almost have to do it early.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. 17 minutes in this hearty, meaty segment with Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com. LandryFootball.com. You can follow the former coach and scout at Landry Football, at Landry Football. Chris, hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for joining us. Since it's rivalry week, let's get to it. The biggie, obviously. Ohio State, Michigan. Does Ohio State have a weakness? And if so, can Michigan exploit it?
Yeah, they don't run the football. They're not as physical. They don't run the football as well. They run the speed game well. They're going to have to be successful. And I think that defensively they're improved. But I think you can run the football on them. I mean, this is a contrast in styles. And so it's a matter of wills. If it's a physical phone booth game, it's advantage Michigan. in terms of playmaking ability and speed, it's Ohio State. To me, the biggest question is how healthy is Blake Corum? And because, Michigan's not going to come from behind in this game. But I also think that if it's a close game, Ohio State's trying to be physical, but they have gone more finesse with their speed spread game. So I think C.J. Stroud's going to have a great game, and they're going to have to find a way to run it. Now, they got 3 good backs. Michigan's got a couple of them in their own, but they're a power team versus a spread team, a finesse team.
What will Michigan try to do defensively then to slow Ohio State down? And are they good enough in the back 7 if C.J. Stroud gets it going to slow them down?
If he's really hot, it's going to be tough. They've got too many weapons at receiver to match up. They're going to have to bring pressure on Stroud. They're going to have to make him uncomfortable. And they're going to have to defend the run with 6.5. They're going to have to cheat a little bit over the middle. So they can do that. They're a good defensive unit. I think they've got a shot here. I do favor Ohio State, but I think that Michigan's got a real shot.
When you say Michigan's going to have to bring pressure, does that mean bring extra guys? Because
no.
So they're basically
pressure.
So their front four's got to get the job done.
Yeah, and look, they don't have a Jabo and Hutchinson, but they're still good, and they do a good job staying in their pass rush lanes, and they do a good job running stunts and twists to where they're coordinated very well, where they can bring pressure. It's a good Ohio State offensive line, though, that's going to have more success blocking that front than most people have against Michigan, which is one of the reasons why I favor Ohio State, also at being at home. And look, they don't like that fact that they have dominated this series recently, and they lost it last year. And if they lose again, there's going to be a feeling of not just, oh my goodness, what happened? Because potentially the loser could maybe still get in the playoffs. We don't know. But losing 2 in a row is clearly not something you want to do in a rivalry game. But losing 2 in a row is like, okay, we've lost our stranglehold on this rivalry. This is bigger than just the normal Ohio State-Michigan game.
Well, and Chris, I think you're right in that regard too, because if Michigan does win it, they're going to do it by beating Ohio State up. And that's, to me, that's the loss that Ohio State would have the most difficulty taking, is going, all right, 2 years in a row, we've lined up against a team and they've out-toughed us and it's not close.
And it's exactly, although they didn't play this year, it's exactly what's going on at Alabama with Georgia's more physical and tougher than us. Now, Michigan's not Georgia. They're not as explosive. They can't make enough plays in the passing game, but the same thing applies. What the heck's going on over here? Yeah, that Georgia team is and that's exactly what Ohio State's looking at. But 1 year doesn't really change things. This year would kind of make them look internally, because I think Ohio State is questioning their toughness. That's why they're trying to run it.
All right. In our state tonight, Gators at Knowles. Florida needs to recruit one of the 3 of us to play wide receiver tonight. I've never seen 5 wide receivers out for a game before, including their top 2. But, Chris, when the Gators have thrown their A game on the field, they've been pretty salty. Do they have something for the Knowles, who are as hot as any team in the country right now?
Well, Florida State is the better-looking team on film. There's no question. But it's concerning when you look at Florida and you say, okay, well, they dominate an opponent 1 week, and then that was an embarrassment last week. There's no other way to put it. I think because it's a rivalry game and because it's coming off of an embarrassing performance, I think the Gators play well. They give as close to their A game as possible. Is it going to be good enough? That's going to be the key.
Hey, there's a pretty good game at noon today, Tulane and Cincinnati, and UCF fans paying attention to that, because if they can take care of USF,
right,
which they should be in the AAC championship game against the winner of this one. Cincinnati doesn't lose a lot at home. What does Tulane have for them in a real tight spread game?
They've got an outstanding running game. Both, the quarterback can run it. They've got an outstanding back. They've been very aggressive and pesky on defense at times. Now, they couldn't defend the quarterback in the UCF game, John Rice Plumlee. This is going to be tough for them. It's big for them. Obviously going to the conference championship game is huge. What a turnaround it would be. They look like the more complete team here, but winning at Cincinnati, as you mentioned, is difficult. That's a physical Cincinnati team.
I think since his home winning streak is like 36 or 37, something like that, might be the longest in the country. Chris, let me ask you this. If Ritter was on this Cincinnati team, would they be as good as last year's? Is their ineffectiveness at quarterback the big difference between last year and this year?
It is. And I mean, even though they had some other good players like Sauce Gardner, I think Ritter is the biggest difference because they don't have that playmaker. You look at, when UCF has been really, really good, got good quarterback play, healthy quarterback play. Cincinnati, Tulane, same thing. So yes, I think they would. I don't know. They wouldn't be unbeaten. Although I don't know, I don't think they'd be unbeaten, but yeah, they'd be good.
This is the time every week where you tell us how bad USC's defense is on film, and yet they continue to win games, they continue to create turnovers. Will they do it and be able to beat Notre Dame this week?
Yeah, look, and it was, not good at all. They got maybe a couple of stops here and there against UCLA. Look, this Notre Dame team's going to run the football at them. They are a little bit more efficient in the passing game than they were earlier in the year. Drew Pine's been really good. Look, the difference might be, and I think the difference is for USC, it's not just the offense, it's the quarterback running it. So to David's point, that's the X factor here. It's stopping Caleb Williams for 4 quarters, probably the difference. I tend to think USC might be able to get this one because of the quarterback play, but this is going to be a challenge to their defense. And once again, so Notre Dame is going to want to try to win it at the line of scrimmage and limit USC's possessions.
Okay, sidebar, put your pro personnel scouting hat on. I'm calling you up. I'm the Houston Texans. I have the first pick of the draft. Bryce Young, Stroud, Williams from USC.
I'm not ready to go there yet. I love all the intangibles of Bryce Young. I think he's a much better version of Russell Wilson. I mean, he's built like him. Well, he's not built like him. The lower body's not as thick. But, boy, his ability to make plays, he's, to me, special. I'd probably lean there right now to answer your question. But I got some time to do the important work that I need to do on that.
Is TCU still going to be undefeated when we talk next time? I mean, they've got Iowa State. They're a big favorite in this game. But, they play a lot of close games, does TCU?
They do. I believe they're going to beat Iowa State. Iowa State's defense is really good. Won't be enough in space to defend TCU for 4 quarters. It's the Kansas State game next week, which I believe it's going to be Kansas State. I believe they'll beat Kansas. That's the game that's going to be, it's going to be huge because I think that's going to determine whether they get in or not, obviously.
All right, they call it the Civil War. And Oregon with a chance to get in the Pac-12 championship game. If Nix was healthy, if he could run, I'd pick him. I picked the Beavers in this game because even though he's been 72% throwing the ball, I just don't know if with only one dimension, if that'll be enough. Your thoughts on Oregon State?
Look, I see it similarly. This Oregon State team is good. They've got one of the best schemed running games in the country. They're physical up front. Defensively, they play very solid. Look, they don't win all their games because they're not talented enough against great speed teams. I do that. If Nix was healthy, it's clearly Oregon here, but that's the problem there. And I think that this game's going to be close, and I think it's too close to call. If I had to pick it, I'd probably lean towards Oregon State until I was more confident that Bo Nix was healthy, and I don't think we're going to know that definitely.
Well, then, if that's the case, will Washington win against Washington State and get themselves to the Pac-12 championship game?
Look, that offense is elite. It's outstanding. Now, Washington State's had some injuries, and they've not been as good defensively as they were in the early part of the year when they were playing the likes of Oregon off their heels. It's tough to stop this offense. I think Washington's in pretty good shape to win this.
All right. Which South Carolina team are we going to get? The one that played Florida or the one that played Tennessee? But let's just say the one that played Tennessee shows up, all right, in Death Valley. Do they have something for Clemson?
Oh, yeah, if they play that way. But I got to tell you, what they did is just like you're watching it, you're rewinding it, saying, this really happening. I mean, this is one of those, like the guy hitting 3-pointers and, he never misses. It doesn't matter what he does. I think this is going to be the flip around. They're going to look more like they did against Florida. I think Clemson's, not that Clemson's great. I just don't think South Carolina can duplicate it. I don't trust them to do it consistently. They haven't done it all year long. What they did last week, they have not done all year long. 18 offensive scores South Carolina had. They had 9 against Tennessee. They had a season last week. 8 touchdown passes all year long. You had 6 in one game. You duplicate that, we'll talk, and we'll have a lot of fun in that game. But I don't see that being duplicated.
All right. Do you have a rivalry game that you like? Mark has listened to me for 10 years. I've stopped now, but I used to tell him how great and just magical North Dakota against North Dakota State was. Is there a game this weekend that you have a soft spot for?
Well, I've fortunately in my scouting career, I've been to all of them, guys. I've been to North Dakota State. I've been to Montana State. I've been to Lafayette, Lehigh. I've been to Harvard, Yale, all of those. But there's nothing quite like Michigan, Ohio State in most years. It's a state thing. That's what makes it unique. It's like they don't like the states of one another. They just don't like one another. It's like it's not Ohio State and Michigan. It's Ohio and Michigan. It's just and it's always big. And it's just the biggest this year. I maybe both teams will make the playoffs, but wouldn't count on it that way. That's the one that's most intriguing to me.
He's Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com. LandryFootball.com. Follow him on Twitter at LandryFootball. Chris, take another turkey nap, okay, and get ready for the games. They start early. They start in 3 hours.
Yes, it's love this weekend. It's my favorite holiday of the year.
Absolutely. Thanks as always, Chris.
Thanks for having me, guys. Have a great one. Take care.
So Chris Landry thinks the Buckeyes, but I have to admit he's not pound the table as confident as most national guys.
Nope. He thinks it's going to be a little more of a game.
He thinks UCF's going to Tulane, doesn't he?
Yes.
For a rematch.
He thinks Tulane's really good and likes Oregon State and Washington, which would be interesting if that's how the Civil War ends up with Oregon and Oregon State.
It sounds like he would take the 5.5 with Notre Dame, but he thinks that the maybe Heisman Trophy winning quarterback is going to find a way to pull out another 3-4 point win.
I am excited postseason when he starts breaking down film on quarterbacks because when he just flat out said, I like the intangibles of Bryce Young, but I'm not even close to ready yet. That's a tell. This is someone that's going to dive in when he starts getting ready for the draft here and does a lot of work in that regard. And we'll keep giving you more Chris Landry as we start getting ready for that when the season ends.
All right. Gut feeling, Ohio State, Michigan.
I picked Ohio State and laid the number. I think Ohio State gets them. I just don't think Michigan throws the ball well enough. And I think the weapons for Ohio State are too much for Michigan this year.
Michigan has not been behind much. Yeah, there's Ohio State for that matter, but they fell behind by a couple scores in one game and were able to, quickly douse that. I think we all have the same doubts. If Michigan all of a sudden finds themselves down 14-3 early second quarter, can they stay with it? Do they have enough of a passing game to get back in it? We haven't really seen it this year. And for you Buckeye fans out there, have you seen enough toughness? You feel good that your team can go in there and get in the phone booth at times and get out and be okay without getting knocked down? That's what we'll find out.
Rivalry weekend. It is spectacular. And as David said, it starts in around 3 hours. Florida State tonight, a whole slate of games tomorrow, and then the NFL action on Sunday. Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, Lake City. We thank you so much for listening. The bonus hour in the 239 is next, right here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka, The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if